Hey everybody, Bladesofgod here from Hammer Bros Gaming, coming at you with the newest installment in our Gears 5 Master Escape Alternate Guide series. This series is going to cover alternate class setups to run the Gears 5 escape maps on Master difficulty, as we've already run all of the Gears 5 escape maps with the classes that we would recommend. But if you don't have those classes leveled up, we figured we'd go through and do an alternate class selection. You can see here that we are all going to spin up random classes. Pyrocyterots went first, and he spun up the veteran class. You see I'm spinning up the combat medic right now, and Beardsley is going to spin up in just a moment, and he is going to spin up the pilot class. A couple of rules that we put in place here is that we are not allowed to use any of the classes that we used in our original run, so these are all new classes for these maps. We're not going to rerun any of the maps a third time until we've gone through all the maps, doing an alternate guide for the second time, if you will. And also, if any of the classes that we spin up are below level 7, we are allowed to respin for a different class. For instance, if Beardsley were to spin up the Slugger class, as that was currently at level 2, he would be able to spin up another class. But it didn't happen that time, and we are going to go into the map with these classes. It's a fairly decent class setup. Combat Medic gets some good defensive buffs and offensive buffs with rifles, as well as that Team Revive ultimate. Pilot is great because of the Silverback ultimate and the freezing damage it does, and then the Veteran is good with rifles, the passive ability to get no damage during executions, and of course the Living Legend ultimate. So looking at the traps modifiers, we have more stumps, more health, more lethal, big recoil, Iron Man, execution rules, and longer recharge. More stumps obviously means more stumps, more lethal is more damage to the players, more health is pretty obvious, the enemies have more health. Big recoil is going to be a problem, as weapons have a lot more kick or recoil when you fire them, so it's very hard to stay on target. And it's just, it makes firing from a distance with rifles quite difficult, which isn't ideal because we're running a Veteran and a Combat Medic, both which are kind of designed to use rifles in combat. So getting into the map itself here, you can see we're going to come out of the spawn room. We're going to head straight ahead and then kind of up and to the right. You can see I just marked a drone up there, and there's an ammo room up there. So we're going to take our time and sort of wait. We were trying to get all of us together. That didn't end up working out the way we wanted it. The idea was we were going to get up to the right and get into this ammo room, but Pyro ended up getting separated from us. And what we're going to do is Beardsley and I are going to take out this reject, take out these drones, and get into the ammo room over here to get some weapons. Something to keep in mind is that the gimmick for the trap is that there are certain doors that you're going to go through that will automatically close behind you. So what you want to do is make sure that you kind of line up or stack up on those doors together and cross the threshold at the same time, so the door comes up behind all three of you, or two of you if you're only running with two people. This will negate the, like I said, the big gimmick of this map and make things much easier. So this is the path that we recommend running. You can see I picked up a Nasher, which will definitely be helpful, and I end up coming ahead here. What we're trying to do is figure out a place that we can rendezvous with Pyro. I'm actually trying to circle all the way around so I can catch up to Pyro and kind of get around to him. We do spread out quite a bit here because this is the room where finally the paths reconverge, and I was hoping to sneak around that we could kind of all link back up, but I got a little too overzealous and a stump took me down. Pyro's working up that left side. You can see on the mini-map that he's advancing towards the room. Beardsley's right next to me, so we can help each other with revives if one of us gets downed. This room is pretty tricky. Because of the big recoil, it's very difficult to get a lot of long-range damage going, and if it's something that fires a lot slower like the Nasher, then the recoil isn't as noticeable, or the pistol. But if you use a rifle, you're going to see a lot of kick, and even with the Nasher, you can see that the front of that, the very end of that gun is picking up quite a bit when I fire, a lot more than it should. So you can see here we're using the triple melee execution to avoid that big recoil modifier, and if you're not familiar with triple melee execution, what you're going to do, if you're using a standard controller layout and your standard button layout, B is going to be your melee button. You're going to push B a second time, and then press and hold B on the third time. What this will do is it'll melee hit, and stun, and then when you press and hold the third time, that's going to execute the enemy, which is extremely useful on the master difficulty, as even the imagos take a lot of damage. One thing to take note of is that the elite drones, or the elite rifles or elite grenadiers, they can actually tank your melees and will down you with a melee of their own if they are aware of you when you go to melee them. So as I was explaining that, you could see that we were going to deal with a stump as Pyro caught up to us in that room. What we decided to do instead was just leave the stump behind. They moved very slowly. We were able to get by to the next room, or to the next hallway. And as we came up that path, we went over to the right here. You can see there's another ammo room, and we are already at the safe room. The big thing is, the big problem is that there are 2 stumps sitting right outside of this room firing into this area. And because we came to the right instead of the left, we had a drop down. We can't really double back and fall back to try to get a better angle. So we're sort of stuck in a situation where we now have to deal with these stumps and get them taken off the board, or at least get by them in order to get to the safe room. And you can see we almost wiped right there because of that reject and because of the stumps fire. So we're kind of pinned down right here. We're not in a great situation. What we want to do is split the stumps fire and try to get a couple of different angles of fire going. The stumps do have an incredibly high rate of fire. They do a ton of damage on master difficulty, but one nice thing is that they can only fire at one place at a time. So if you and your teammates can kind of spread out and take turns popping out of cover, doing a little bit of damage at a time, you can whittle down the stump's health. The big problem here is that you don't have a ton of ammo or heavy weapons to really deal with them quickly, and you also have drones that are going to press in on you and make this little bit of cover that you have not very feasible. You could see that we're doing a lot of team revives right here. Pyro ended up getting a beat down instead of an execution, so I was able to run over and help him. Unfortunately, the stump downed me and Pyro. So, me and Pyro. So Beardsley's the last one standing. Pyro went over to Beardsley to get revived, and now is coming over to revive me. So we're back on our feet, and all the drones are taken out. But unfortunately, those 2 stumps are still active. There's one right here. You can kind of see one off to the right a little bit in that little alcove. And the tricky thing is, I was going to try to run up and hopefully get the stump to use its electric stomp attack, because that's much easier to avoid, and you can sort of go to town with the shotgun if you can get your dodges or your dives timed up right to synchronize with the stomp attacks. If it does the electrical charge stomp attack, it can't continue to fire its tri-shot at you, and especially if you have teammates who are in a position to fire, while it's doing its stomp attack, you can put a lot of damage on it very quickly. You can see here we're trying to whittle them down, as that stump was focused on me for a few minutes, but these things have an insanely high HP pool, so it takes a lot of firepower to put them down. You can see I'm going to try again. What I wanted to do was vault over the cover, but man, I mistimed that click. We got a flame grenade thrown on him, or an incendiary grenade. I believe it's Beardsley was coming over to try to revive me, and again, we thought we were going to wipe right here, but Pyro played it cool. He stayed in cover and waited for us to crawl back to him, and thankfully, between the pot shots we were taking and the incendiary grenade, the stump is actually just about out of commission. I'm going to try to come back here and open up this ammo room, because we can see the early venom is already starting to creep up on us, and we have more incendiary grenades, more ammunition, and we have a mulcher back here. So if you were to run like the gunner class I believe is actually one of the classes that we ran in our primary guide because of the reflective shell and reflective shredder abilities, but I will be sure to link the original guide in our preferred class guide in this video in the description, so you can check that out if you are interested. So as you can see, as I was getting this mulcher, which for some reason is invisible, you can't see it in my hands, but you can see in the upper right hand corner there that I definitely do have a mulcher. Pyro actually doesn't have a weapon either. He picked up a tri-shot from that downed stump. But yeah, we have invisible weapons right now. We definitely could have just run by that stump, as the alcove it was in made it impossible for it to fire up here, but now that it's moving, we're in the same situation where we're going to have a stump that is just going to have free reign to fire on us. Pyro's way down there. He's telling us to go into the safe room and just close the door and let him die, but that's not how we're going to do things here. That's not how we're going to play things. I've almost got my team revive ready to go, and Pyro is just going to crawl all the way up here. Again, there's that shock attack that I was talking about, and this is what I'm talking about. If you can get your dodges in where you can time up the dodge to get back in close, to the stump, it'll get locked in a melee attack instead of using the tri-shot, and what that'll do is allow you to really whittle down the health very quickly, again, especially if you have allies who are able to shoot from afar. So we finally made it into the safe room. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead here because there's not much to see in the safe room itself. Thankfully, Beardsley played it safe because Pyro and I got downed again by the stump, but he played it safe, waited for us to crawl back to him and revived us. And now here we go. You can see after the safe room, we have our weapons in hand now, and we're going to come right into a pretty big fight right off the bat. Here we have a Scion with a salvo. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our grenades on this little choke point. We have some incendiaries and just put some damage on all these drones as they kind of come funneling through towards us. The Scion, unfortunately, does not get all that close. We were hoping he was going to creep up a little bit, take a little bit of the flame damage. He doesn't do that. He isn't cooperating, playing nice, but that's okay. We're just going to make it work anyway. So you can see we've got a couple of drones who closed into this little room with us. And Beardsley and I are going to fall back, so all three of us, Beardsley, Pyro, and myself, have fallen back almost all the way to the safe room door. We're going to hold here for just a little bit, try to take out a few more of the drones and grenadiers. So hopefully all that's going to be left is that one Scion. You can see here, I'm going to rush up ahead. Didn't realize that there was a couple of drones on the other side of that cover. I get one execution, but unfortunately I get downed by the Scion right here. He also fired the salvo one-handed into the wall. I don't know why it is that I didn't get killed there, but thankfully Pyro drops the Scion with a well-placed headshot. So it was a lot of teamwork to take him down, but once he's down, you're looking pretty good here. The rest of the map isn't exactly easy, but that's definitely one of the biggest hurdles coming right out of the safe room. Pyro's going to go ahead and grab the salvo. Not that anybody has explosive cards active for bleed or anything, but it's always nice to have the salvo. So what we're doing now, as you can see there, was a great example of how to go across one of these trap doors that the level's named after in a good way which nobody gets left behind. It's pretty simple. We just like to count it off 1, 2, 3, and on 3 everybody crosses the door at the same time. We are coming over to the left-hand side of the second act of the map because there's an ammo room here that has a boom shot. And the boom shot can be very active in the last room before the helipad, as we have a stump and a Scion to deal with. But first we got to get past all of these drones and grenadiers. That claw did some pretty bad damage to Beardsley and myself. You saw a little bit of a chain revive there just a moment ago. But all we're going to do is we're going to try to take these guys out. You can see I rush ahead foolishly. I didn't realize that there was enemies over to my right, so I'm way out here in no man's land. Beardsley and Pyro are both sitting back, trying to take pot shots at these enemies. Beardsley comes up with the attempt to revive me. Unfortunately, the Grenadier decided that he wasn't having any of that and interrupted Beardsley in his triple melee execution with a melee of his own. Thankfully, none of the enemies decided to execute myself or Beardsley. I did have my team revive ready. I could have used that, but I was trying to save that for the end because I knew we had a stump and a Scion to deal with, and I really wanted to have that ace up my sleeve in case we ended up getting in trouble. So you see here again, we're just trying to clean up some of these enemies. I still have to double back to that ammo room and grab the boom shot, as that's going to be helpful in the tail end of the map. Pyro still's carrying his salvo. He's going to end up going to work with that in just a moment, I think, to clean up a few of these enemies. So here we go, finally falling back to get the boom shot. Here it is. There's also an explosive ammo crate back here, so we're going to pick that up just because it gives us at least a flash grenade, and you know, if it was any other any other Gears game, we'd be able to get a few more shots than 3, but whatever, we'll take three boom shots and make the best of it. So we're going to advance up. There is a we almost wiped here as well. I just got that revive in time, and Beardsley or Pyro was able to get the triple melee execution and get us both up. Like I was saying, there is a stump off to the right there. We're just going to bypass that stump. You can see the early Venom is already really starting to push up on us, and this isn't exactly the cleanest run ever. Again, these are alternate classes, so ideally you'd like to go a little bit faster. We knew that there was one guy sitting back there with a claw, and we were kind of waiting to find a time to advance. Unfortunately, we timed it very poorly, and he downed both of us. This is the situation I was talking about, where it was nice to have the team revive ace up my sleeve, because Beardsley and I were both down. Pyro was in a situation where if he jumped over that cover, the drone would have been able to target him and down him. So I used the team revive to get us up, and then we worked together to melee that enemy down. So here you can see we're getting into the last really big room. Whenever we come into this room, we do call this actually the big room amongst us, the Hammer Bros. This is the big room when we play Gears 5 Escape. We always come up to the right to try to get into this little room. It offers pretty good cover and a better vantage point on the lower catwalks. So if we had a marksman or some precision weapons, that's what we'd be using to thin the ranks a little bit. Unfortunately, that Scion is already lobbing its salvo shots at us. And right now, Beardsley, the reason I froze up was that Beardsley decided to use a silverback and go to work thinning out these enemies so we could try to give ourselves a little bit of breathing room to get ahead of the Venom. Pyro still has his salvos going to work, but Beardsley's is using his the freeze card, the freeze ability of the pilot, and he did enough damage to me that I started freezing. So that's fun. Apparently that freeze damage does affect friendlies, but it maybe wasn't the best time or the best use for the silverback, but it got us up here. It did clear out quite a few enemies and allowed us to get into this room and kind of, you know, give us a little bit of a hard point to hold dealing with the Scion and the Stump. So normally this Scion sits back. This is the first time we actually had him kind of rush up this far. And thankfully, Beardsley went in and he kind of went clutch. He didn't get downed while Pyro and I were down. And he went in and started going to town meleeing that Scion. One of the other pilot skill is that any damage that you deal generates stim, which means if you time it right, the pilot can go toe-to-toe with the Scion because you can melee faster than the Scion and regenerate your health and get stim up. So Beardsley was able to really get a lot of damage put on the Scion, revive Pyro and I, and really, like I said, he saved the run there and came in clutch. We used what we had left for the boom shot and the salvo to take out the Stump along with some of the freeze damage from Beardsley. I picked up the tri-shot from the Stump and had to do a few shots on that Grenadier in passing. Just knocked his helmet off enough to kind of tease him a little bit. And here we are at the helipad. Now, when you do the hold on the helipad, you get a ton of rejects, and Pyro actually reminded me that he had the Living Legend ultimate, so he stacked up on this little bit of cover and activated it so we could use our weapons together to try to maximize the damage that we were putting out there. And you see we get a really nice chain reaction of rejects going here. So I used the last of my boom shot, Pyro used the last of his salvo, I threw a flash grenade to try to slow down some enemies. And most of the other rejects don't make it through the door. We clean up the few that do using shotguns and melee, and that's about it. That is how we got through the trap with an alternate class setup. I hope you guys found this helpful. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, bye-bye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. You can also check us out on Twitch at Hammer Bros Gaming. I am Blades of God, and until next time, have a great day everyone.